I found out my wife was cheating on me with my best friend. I ended things, now she overdosed and got a stroke, her aunt blames me for all of this. Honestly, my life feels like a complete mess. I'm at a loss for words about how to deal with all of this. I created this account mainly to see if anyone else has faced something even remotely similar, and sadly, it seems like it's not that rare. Sorry in advance for how long this is. I just needed to vent because I feel like I'm losing my mind. I met my wife back in college. Let's call her Lunox. We were both just 18 when we started dating. From our very first date, we clicked instantly, and it wasn't long before we were saying, "I love you." She kind of took the lead in pursuing me, and I was more than happy about it. We opened up to each other about our deepest fears and secrets. When her dad passed away during her senior year, I was right there by her side. He had pancreatic cancer, and I spent countless nights at the hospital with her so she wouldn't have to face it alone. That experience really brought us closer together. She often told me she didn't know how she would have coped without me. She called me her soulmate. I was certain I wanted to marry her, and about 2 years after we graduated, I finally proposed. Back then, life was pretty much perfect for me. I had just married the girl of my dreams, landed a great job right after graduation, and both our families were totally on board with us. My best buddy, let's call him Vale, and I shared what I thought was an unbreakable brotherly bond. We had been friends since 3rd grade, and he was like the brother I never had. Vale was married too, but he and his wife moved away when she got a fantastic job at a big law firm. Sadly, about a year ago, his wife died in a car accident and it shattered him. He came back to our hometown afterward, but he was a different person. I tried to support him, but he shut everyone out. No one could really grasp the depth of his pain. So, I asked my wife to reach out to him since she had also experienced loss, thinking Vale might connect better with someone who understood. Looking back, I realized that was a big mistake. We started visiting him every day. My wife would spend hours at his place, even when I wasn't around. They went hiking, watched movies without me, and grabbed lunch together, basically all the things couples do. It was way more interaction than I had planned, and it made me uneasy, but I could see Vale was starting to feel better. It's worth mentioning that Vale and Lunox never really got along before all this. Lunox always thought he was a jerk. Before he married his late wife, Vale was known for hopping from one relationship to another, and even after tying the knot, he was unfaithful. Lunox really couldn't stand him and often questioned how I could be friends with someone she thought had such questionable morals. This dislike for Chris made me blind to what was about to happen. As I mentioned, Lunox and Vale became super close, to the point where she started inviting him to things I had planned for just the two of us. On top of that, she began showing signs of what I now recognize as classic cheating behavior, always glued to her phone, growing more distant, lacking intimacy, and coming home really late. It all felt way too suspicious. One day, while she was texting, I asked who she was chatting with. She claimed it was just one of her girlfriends, but when I asked to see the messages, she got really annoyed and called me possessive. I brought it up with Vale, expressing how uneasy their friendship made me. He reassured me that nothing was going on and even accused me of not trusting him or my own wife. I was definitely being gaslighted. This went on until one day, Lunox said she was heading to her sister's for the weekend because she needed a break from me and my accusations. I was still suspicious, so I called her sister to check if Lunox was really going to visit. Her sister confirmed she was, but Lunox hadn't shown up yet. Keep in mind, she left around 3 p.m. and her sister lives about 4 hours away. By 10 p.m. something told me to swing by my friend's place, and sure enough, I found my wife's car parked just a few feet from his house. At this point, everything was crystal clear, and I hate to say it, but I broke down. Hard. After a few minutes, I decided I had to go in and see if this was really happening. I slipped in through the back door, knowing it would be unlocked. As I crept inside, I could hear my wife moaning. I was trembling. When I reached the bedroom door, I peeked through the crack. My wife was bent over the nightstand. That image is burned into my mind forever. I'm literally in tears as I write this. I flung the door open, and they both froze, staring at me. It took everything in me not to lash out at Vale. I just turned around and got into my car. I could hear them scrambling, and my wife was yelling for me to stop and that she could explain. I couldn't bear to look at her. I have no idea what I would have done, so I just drove off. I cried the whole way home and they were both blowing up my phone. I went to stay with a college buddy and have been here for about a week. I can't eat, can't sleep, and can't think of anything else. I let my job know what was happening and they were really understanding and gave me some time off. My phone has been ringing off the hook from Vale, Lunox, and our families. I told my family I was okay and would be back soon, but I haven't replied to anyone else since. This hurt so much. I feel like I want to disappear. I'm feeling really overwhelmed and just want to escape this world, but I can't bring myself to take that step. I'm trying to stay strong, but my willpower is fading. How could someone I love so deeply end up doing this? I'm lost and unsure of what to do next. How do I handle this situation? I really need some guidance. TLDR, my wife cheated on me with my best friend and I'm at a loss. Please help. Update. First off, I want to express my gratitude for all the support and advice you've given me. You've made this tough time a bit more manageable. Hearing some of your stories has shown me that I can get through this. I had some dark thoughts about ending it all, but I think I'm moving past that now. I really appreciate your concern. Many of you asked for an update, so here it is. I received an email from my wife and it said, "I know you need your space right now and I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I can't help it. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I never wanted any of this to happen. Hurting you was the last thing I wanted and knowing how much pain I've caused you is a new level of suffering for me. It's painful, but I know you're hurting even more." My relationship with Vale started off innocent. I never planned for it to go as far as it did, it just kind of happened. I won't pretend this was the first time it happened. We've been intimate several times and I'm sure you figured that out. You always knew. You're incredibly intelligent and that's just one of the many reasons I admire you. But I need to be honest. My relationship with Vale only became physical about a week before you found out. Up until then, it was purely emotional. We connected on a level that I never expected and things just spiraled from there. I know you were trying to bring us closer with the best intentions. You're the most compassionate person I've ever met and I can't even begin to express how sorry I am for what I've done to you. I'll always remember the pain in your eyes when you discovered the truth and that guilt is something I'll carry with me forever. I do have feelings for Vale, but they don't even come close to what I feel for you. I love you deeply. You're my soulmate, my everything. I know my actions might suggest otherwise, but that's the truth. Please don't ever doubt my love for you. It's genuine. That part of our relationship has always been sincere. I can't explain why I did it. Maybe it was the thrill of something new and the allure of the forbidden, as harsh as that sounds. I'm not trying to hurt you by saying this. I just want to be honest. I truly don't understand why I would do something like this to you, of all people. I know I'm a terrible, selfish person. I did something that feels unforgivable and all I can do is ask for your forgiveness. That's how selfish I am. I'm a hypocrite and I fully acknowledge that. You have every right to be angry with me and no one can fault you for it. But I want you to know that my actions had nothing to do with you. It really wasn't your fault at all. Vale and I took advantage of your kindness and I'm genuinely sorry for that. I mean it. He feels the same way. There's so much I want to talk to you about, but it's better to do it face to face. Take all the time you need. But seriously, I'm pleading with you. Please let me try to fix this. Come back home. I love you and I'm not sure how to process that. I've got a bunch of similar emails, but I wanted to share this one because it really threw me for a loop. I honestly don't recognize the person I married. What do you all think? Like many of you and my family suggested, I reached out to a lawyer and met with her yesterday. I shared everything and she seems really eager to help me come out of this as financially secure as possible, considering the situation. I still have deep feelings for my wife, but I'm not sure if I can move past this. I've gotten a lot of messages from Vale too, but I'm not ready to read them. I keep bouncing between sadness and anger and I'm just lost right now. Should I explore the possibility of reconciliation? Or is it better to just end this marriage now and spare myself more pain? My family knows everything, apparently, Lunox has told everyone what happened. I've been away from everyone for over 2 weeks and I'm still at a loss for what to do next. The hurt is still so raw. Every time I shut my eyes, all I see is Lunox and Vale together and the ache just won't fade. I know a lot of you are probably thinking I should just get a divorce, and honestly, I'd say the same if I were in your shoes, but it's not as simple as that when you're the one living it. With all this new info, I'd really like some advice, especially from those who have been through this. For those who have been betrayed and those who strayed, how did you get past it? Is it even doable? Right now, I'm leaning towards going through with a divorce, but I just need some reassurance that I'm making the right call. I've seen all your comments and felt it was important to share more. I've been told by her and her family that she's been staying with her sister for a few weeks now. In one of her emails, she mentioned she's only talked to Vale once since I found out and has gone completely no contact with him. Her mom even reached out to apologize for her daughter's actions through a text. I didn't answer her calls. She mentioned that Lunox is currently in individual therapy. In another email, she insisted she would never leave me for Vale. She has feelings for him, but she claims she doesn't love him. Interesting. Vale is supposedly planning to leave soon, but he's apparently waiting to talk to me in person first. There's a ton of stuff I haven't covered yet and I might be missing some details, but a few family members and friends are suggesting I just have a chat with her and see where it goes from there. That's my current mindset. Update 2. I decided to take a break from Reddit and social media to really think about my marriage and what steps I should take next. I've been getting a lot of advice from the awesome folks here, plus my family and friends. But honestly, I was a bit lost on what I truly wanted. A lot has gone down since then, so this might turn into a bit of a saga. Hang tight. When I reflected on the marriage, I realized it was mostly filled with good times, which is why I was so determined to find a reason to stick around. But then I started thinking about her cheating and how she and Vale manipulated me into doubting my own sanity, and all I felt was pure anger. The more I dug into it, the angrier I became. I'll never forget how furious Lunox would get when I asked her about her late nights, or the disgusted look Vale shot me when I confronted him, man to man, about whether anything was happening between him and my wife. The cheating was bad enough, but the fact that it was with my best friend made it even worse. And then there's the gaslighting. That's the part I can't shake off. Sure, I was played for a fool, but it takes a certain kind of person to lie so smoothly and convincingly. I still can't wrap my head around how they could switch it up like that. I remember one night when she came home late. Just a couple of days before I found out, she was all about how much she loved me and how excited she got driving home thinking of me. Now, I'm pretty sure she just came back from Vale since she wasn't wearing any pants. She had hooked up with both of us one after the other. I totally kissed her. This whole mess made me feel like such a pushover. How did I let them treat me like this? I feel so less of a man. The more I thought about it, the more I wanted to go over to Vale's. But I couldn't. There's no fairness for me, especially with how the justice system works. They get to mess with my head and hurt me emotionally. But if I fight back, I'm the one who ends up in jail for who knows how long. I talked to my lawyer about it and she told me to keep my cool. Not only would I land in jail, but it would also mess up my chances in the divorce. She suggested I see a therapist, but I'm not interested. I don't think I need it. I was still getting bombarded with emails from Lunox and they just made me more furious. She kept going on about how awful her life would be without me. She even had the audacity to send me Bible verses about forgiveness. If I really mattered, why would she act like this? I started going back to work to keep myself busy. Staying distracted has really helped me deal with everything and I'm not drinking as much as I used to. One day at work, I got a letter from Lunox. I was about to toss it aside, but I decided to give it a read instead. In there, she opened up about her individual counseling and how it helped her uncover some personal issues she was dealing with. The main one? Her low self-esteem. She mentioned that the difference in our looks made her super self-conscious and deep down, she craved to feel wanted by someone other than me. She brought up how her sister has always been the prettier one, which really affected her self-worth. Even though she knew I found her attractive and made her feel beautiful, she still sought that validation from elsewhere. She apologized again, saying it wasn't an excuse, but she was just trying to figure out how to prevent this from happening again if I was open to giving her another shot. Then she suggested we try marriage counseling to sort things out. At that point, I hadn't replied to anything from her or her family, so I just brushed it off. Anyway, I kicked off the divorce process, and the first thing on the agenda was sorting out our finances. Unfortunately, I couldn't completely separate myself from her without her agreeing. We have our own accounts plus a joint savings account, and I can't access my share without her approval. Even though I earn a lot more than she does and have put in the bulk of the money in that account, it looks like I'll have to split it down the middle. So, I went ahead and filed the divorce papers. She got served a few weeks back, and that's when the chaos really began. The very day she got the papers, she showed up at my place with the divorce petition in hand. I have no clue how she tracked me down. We just stood there, staring at each other, and it felt like time stood still, bringing back all the hurt from that night. All those feelings hit me hard again. I almost cried, but I held it together. She looked like she had been crying too, and suddenly she rushed over to hug me. I gently pushed her away, and that seemed to send her into a frenzy. She started yelling, asking why I was giving up on us so easily and if we could just talk it out. At that moment, I just wanted to escape. Seeing her stirred up a whirlwind of emotions, and I knew I needed to leave before I said or did something I'd regret. I tried to head back to my car, but she jumped on the hood. I asked her what she wanted, and she insisted she just wanted to talk, saying we couldn't end things like this without clearing the air. I gave in since she clearly wasn't going to take no for an answer and was making a scene. We went into my apartment and I just sat there, listening to her. She kept saying she would do anything to save our marriage, that she didn't love my dad, and that she was sorry. She mentioned that she did some digging on how we could move ahead and proposed a trial separation. During this time, she said I could date anyone I wanted, but she wanted me to hold off on the divorce and at least give her a shot at fixing our friendship first, then our marriage. She threw out a bunch of wild ideas, like a one-sided open marriage that would benefit me, shared stories of couples who made it through infidelity, and even suggested we could just pack up and move to another state or country, just the two of us. That part stung a bit because we had talked about moving and starting a family not long before all this drama went down. After she finished, we just sat there in silence, staring at each other, and I finally asked her why. Why him? Why cheat on me with him and only come back after I found out? She broke down in tears when I asked those questions. She admitted she felt really guilty even while it was happening, but she didn't know how to stop. She got so caught up in the affair that she didn't think about the fallout or what she was risking. She said counseling helped her realize that she might have cheated on me eventually, if not with Vale, then with someone else. This was supposedly due to some underlying issues she hadn't recognized. I asked her if she loved Vale, and she assured me she didn't. They haven't talked since I left, and she doesn't even know where he is now. She was all about me and was ready to do whatever it took to make things right after everything that happened. I asked her if she had ever cheated on me before this mess, and she promised her late dad that this was the first and last time. I wanted to know who else was in the loop about her and Vale. She paused for a moment and said only her sister knew, but that she found out just a few days before I did. Apparently, she begged her sister to end it and come clean to me. You guys who guessed the sister was in on it were totally right. I also asked her why she was pleading. If she really wanted to be with Vale, why didn't she just go for it? I asked if she was only doing this because it felt like the right thing, not because she actually wanted to be with me. She replied that she was doing it out of love for me and because she realized she made some terrible choices. We ended up talking for a long time. She cried a lot, but I was all out of tears after the initial shock. I then asked if there was anything else she needed to tell me, any other secrets she was hiding. She started to sob again and begged me not to get mad. That made me really anxious. She cried for a bit and I pushed her to just spill it because I was getting really uneasy. Then it all came out. She revealed that she found out she was pregnant shortly after I left and she had an abortion because she wasn't sure who the father was. She mentioned that if it turned out to be Vale's, there wouldn't be any chance for us to fix things and she felt like she had to come clean. I was completely taken aback. I couldn't wrap my head around it and she started pleading even more, desperate not to let this be the end of us. I just felt numb. I told her to go, but she was begging me to stay because we still needed to talk things through. All that pleading was driving me up the wall, especially with the bombshell I just heard. I asked her how far along she was when she found out she was pregnant and she said just a few weeks. Then it all clicked. Hold on, you mentioned in an email that you only started sleeping with Vale about a week before I found out. Was that a lie? She nodded. Yeah, she actually nodded. She tried to explain that she only said that to spare my feelings and downplay the situation. She admitted it was just physical for less than a month. She attempted to comfort me, but I pushed her away. I told her to leave and not come back. She tried to say something, but I just started shouting for her to go. She asked if we could talk again after I had some time to think, but I said no. I told her I had found a job in another state and would be moving as soon as the divorce process started. In our state, there's a 2-month waiting period after filing. I was already planning this and just needed to wrap things up before quitting my current job. I had already given my boss my notice by then. When she heard that, it was more of the same crying and begging. I told her to leave, or I'd call the cops. She left, and I just lay there on the floor, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. How did my marriage fall apart so quickly? I couldn't wrap my head around it. I thought I was sure about the divorce before, but after our conversation, I felt more certain than ever. I ignored all of Lunox's attempts to reach out, but then a few days ago, on Thursday, my mom called to tell me Lunox was in the hospital. She had a drug overdose. It all felt surreal, like a bad dream. I'm still struggling to process everything. Why is this happening? I went to see Lunox in the hospital, and while she seemed okay, she was in a psych ward. That's where things stand now. I can't understand why she would do this, and when I visited, she was asleep. It hurts because I still care about her, and I'm just relieved she's safe. With everything going on, I haven't really thought about the divorce. What do I even do now? I know there are a lot of details I'm leaving out, but I don't want to drag this on too long. I just need some advice on what my next steps should be. Edit. I'm reposting this because I've been flooded with messages asking me to share it again. I didn't get a chance to respond to most of your comments, so please feel free to weigh in. I could really use your thoughts. Thanks, everyone. Update 3. My life is a mess. I thought my last update would be the final word on this, but here I am again. It's been around 8 months since my life turned into a total mess, and sadly, things just keep getting worse. I won't dive into all the details, but I hope I can share enough to get some helpful feedback from you all. You've been more supportive than you realize. Last time I posted, Lunox was really struggling mentally, but thankfully, she improved after some therapy. I felt terrible for her, but I knew I had to move on. I know many people have made it through tough times like this, but I understand myself well enough. If I had stayed, I would have just caused more harm to both of us. I'll probably never fully get over it, and I might hold on to some resentment for years to come. We decided to get a divorce, but she wanted us to keep in touch, even if it was just a little. The divorce went pretty smoothly, and we finalized it about a month ago. I relocated to the West Coast to start fresh, and things were finally looking up for me. But then I got a call from her sister about Lunox. To make a long story short, Lunox had a stroke. She's nearly completely unable to move her left side and can hardly speak. Hearing that news was absolutely devastating, and visiting her was even harder. She looked so different from the person I once knew, and she would cry every time she saw me. One of the toughest parts of this whole situation is that I can't shake the feeling that it's somehow my fault. People keep telling me it's not, but I can't help but feel that way. Even though her family insists it's not my fault, I can definitely feel some tension when I talk to them. Her aunt totally lost it on me in front of everyone, and it was so awkward because everyone just went quiet. They told me to drop it and move on with my life. I really wish I could just let it go, but it still stings to think about how everything turned out. I haven't talked to Lunox since her stroke, and her family won't let me visit her because they say I stress her out. I don't even know the whole story anymore since I'm not in the loop. It feels like I can't catch a break. Guess I'm just out of luck. Thank you for watching this video. For more content like this, subscribe. I post stories like this from across the internet.